Hello everybody, and welcome back to RJTRAINS. It is Lionel catalog, brochure, pamphlet, whatever you want to call it, release day. And somehow we have not a lot and yet a lot to talk about at the same time. So let's dive into that today on RJTRAINS.
Check it out. I guarantee you've never seen anything quite so objectionable. It's down the hall, third door on your left.
Oh my God! I'm sorry, I thought this was the baby's room. I'm really sorry.
Make sure to use code RJTRAINS at trains.com for $10 off any order $50 or more.
So a lot of people have been messaging me saying how excited they are for this video because of my Volume 1 catalog review, where I was definitely tough on Lionel. And there are a million reasons why you can be tough on Lionel for this catalog. And don't worry, I have plenty of jokes and plenty of things to talk about with the said July 2025 release announcements, whatever they're calling it. But I think it's important to note that since January of this year, a lot has changed politically, economically, and it's not just Lionel that's feeling the effects, it's the entirety of the model train industry. With the uncertainties, with the tariff situation, inflation, increasing cost all around, I think it's all right for Lionel in this situation to take a step back and announce that smaller catalog. And if you remember, because of I think at one point it was 154% tariffs on goods coming from China, Lionel, along with a lot of the other manufacturers, actually paused importing new trains for 3 to 4 months. So because of that, the stuff that's supposed to be arriving in the 2025 Volume 1 catalog got pushed back an additional 3 to 4 months. Now, the full catalog is usually released in the 6 to 12 months following its announcement. Well, now the 2025 Volume 1 is being released 6 to 18 months. So really, Lionel needs to fill a 3-month gap, not a 6-month gap like a normal catalog in delivering new product. So because of that, it actually makes a lot of sense that they're doing a smaller catalog. So this way, for the 2026 Volume 1 catalog, they can get up to speed, per se. Now, they're also calling this the July release. Now, what exactly does that mean? Well, I'm pre-recording this video before the Lionel live stream, so I'm sure they're going to talk about that and explain. Perhaps they're doing a September, maybe October release to coincide with York, and that'll have more announcements. Honestly, I could see them taking the Atlas approach, where Atlas produces these smaller catalogs, but on a quarterly basis. And as we've seen with MTH, which announces products one at a time, it seems to be a good strategy in order to get more pre-orders. By announcing fewer products at each time, you don't know what's going to be in the next catalog 3-4 months down the line. So by announcing stuff in smaller batches, you theoretically could get more pre-orders if you space it out. Now, I know the Lionel catalog is smaller than the typical Atlas catalog. Had a few people point that out to me, but I'm just talking about the mythology behind Lionel's potential thinking. So I wouldn't be surprised if they tell us during the live stream that there's going to be a September or October release, and then a January, and then an April, and then a July. So I think that might be the trend that Lionel's taking, for better or for worse. All right, now that we got all the boring logistical stuff out of the way, which is what I actually find the most interesting, it's time for what you've all been waiting for. RJ's roast of the 2025 Lionel catalog pamphlet release, whatever you're going to call it. And, we've got to start with the cherry on top first, and that is the Super Chief set. So you're getting an ABA, and I believe that's going to be a Super Base B unit, as well as 7 Lionel 21-inch cars for the low MSRP of almost $5,000. Now, assuming, typical dealers, about 10 to 15%, so you're looking at $4,200 to $4,500 when all is said and done for the set. And hand up, I'm going to sound like a hypocrite here, because in that January video, I said Lionel should be making a Santa Fe F3 Super Chief set You know, I think that's the most historic and most nostalgic post-war Lionel train, and there'd be no better way to honor the 125th anniversary. But the Lionel F3s are nice, but there are nicer ones out there, like Third Rail. It has a super bass B unit. I'm not a huge fan of B units. I think super bass B units are a waste of money. You know, it's now MSRP $650 for a B unit. I feel like that's an unnecessary cost that could have been cut out. And then 7 Lionel 21-inch passenger cars. I currently have 11 Lionel 21-inch passenger cars in my collection, and I've had problems with 7 of them. So, as you can imagine, I'm not a huge fan of the Lionel 21-inch passenger cars. And I'm looking at the set, and I'm looking at the price, and then I go over to Third Rail's website, and I can get 2 powered A units and a 6-pack of aluminum passenger cars, not plastic, aluminum, for $4,200, $4,300, in that range. So for cheaper than the Lionel set, granted, you're getting Legacy, not TMCC, you're getting a Super Ace B unit. Wow. I'm sure you're getting a couple of sound cars, but they're plastic. I'm honestly thinking of ordering the Third Rail Golden Gate Depot El Capitan Super Chief. I forgot which exact Santa Fe train it is, but I've been really wanting a scale Santa Fe F3 passenger set. And yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the better option for what I want when it comes to finer details. I don't really care as much about the sounds. I also think Lionel sound cars are just tacky in general, so forgetting that point. Yeah, so hypocrite, but I feel like kind of a waste of money there with the Super Chief set. I mean, anything Lionel, but, you know, besides the point. So, continuing on with Lionel's Genius, of course, you can't buy Lionel's most iconic locomotive, the Santa Fe F units in the war bonnet, unless you buy the set. Don't worry, we've got other great paint schemes. We got even another post-war classic heritage with the New Haven. But if you want Santa Fe and you don't want to buy the 7 passenger cars for a ton of money, then you can buy the blue and yellow Santa Fe ones. So, like, you know, there are some great paint schemes, the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western. Great paint scheme. I love those, but they didn't do the ones that are at the museum up in Scranton. Feels like a missed opportunity there. The Northern Pacifics, they did those in TMCC, and the colors came out perfect. Do you have faith that Lionel is going to get the colors perfect with green? I mean, just look at the Southern Mountain that just was released. You know, another swing and a miss there when it comes to Southern green. So Northern Pacific green, yeah, okay. So then continuing on to the SD38s. Cool, whoop-de-doo. What, Lionel did a run of these about 4-ish years ago, and they did an SD40-2 run last year. Atlas has done 2 runs of the SD40-2 in the last few years. And I know the SD38 and the SD40-2 are completely different locomotives, but I would say generally for like 90% of people who are buying trains, they're virtually the same locomotive. So, you know, out of all of the engines Lionel could do, and they're only doing 3, I mean, I guess they wanted, you know, a cheaper-ish option. But yeah, SD38s. The Conrail one's cool. I'm sure the Conrail one will sell a ton. And of course, we got some great Lionel lines, patriotic and heritage throwback paint schemes. So, you know, I'm sure the people who enjoy those road names will order them, but okay. And then the SD50s. Didn't Lionel also just release these a couple of years ago? And didn't MTH also just do a run of these like last year? You know, I'm pretty sure there are still SD50s from the last Lionel run, and definitely the last MTH run, still sitting around in dealers. You know, granted, these are going to be a new paint schemes, but Lionel, did we really need these at such an inflated cost? I mean, look at that CSX one. There's a 0 chance that those colors are going to be correct. And then, of course, we got to go into the rolling stock. 60-foot boxcars. You know, that brand new Lionel scale boxcar, 60-foot, that's going to cost you $150 now, MSRP. You know, maybe from the dealers, you'll probably end up getting that for $130. In a year or 2 from now, they're going to be on closeout for like $115 because they're not going to sell. I don't even know if Lionel did an accurate paint scheme in all of those cars. I mean, I think a couple of them are, but New York Central Pacemaker, they know if they put that paint scheme on it, it's going to sell. I'm sure it is. Same with the Pennsylvania Railroad one, but, you know, we've already done all the accurate paint schemes, so let's just keep on putting out those fantasy schemes, because that's what people buy. You know, I'm not personally interested in, but I'm sure there are plenty of you guys out there who enjoy that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you enjoy paying $150 for a boxcar, you know, by all means, go right ahead and purchase it. And then the last big thing I wanted to touch on is the new Lion Chief 440s, which is a newly tooled locomotive. And for the fact that it's a newly tooled locomotive, I get it's a computer rendering, but these look awful. I mean, just compare the rendering for the Baltimore, Ohio 440 compared to the real one at the museum. You know, honestly, it's horrendous, you know. And once again, what are the chances Lionel gets the color on those right? And of course, we've got the United States' 250th anniversary next year in 2026. So Lionel's getting ahead of it, cataloging some patriotic stuff. This way, it'll be delivered, you know, at some point during 2026. And, you know, what better way to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country than spending $200 on a patriotic caboose? The patriotic 440 set is actually really cool, and I really like the add-on passenger cars they're offering, especially for this John Adams one, because I was kind of a John Adams nerd when I was a kid. In second grade, we had to dress up as somebody famous. I chose John Adams. On a family trip to Boston, we had to visit John Adams' house. Anyways, but you know what you're going to get. It's all plastic, metal wheels, you know, everything else plastic. The engines themselves are $500. I'm sure the 3-pack of passenger cars is probably $300. I'm not going to waste my money on that. I mean, everybody can spend their money the way they want, but you know, I just don't see it. But I will end this video on a positive note. There is one thing I absolutely love in this catalog. Probably won't pre-order it because I don't think it needs to be pre-ordered. But when it comes in, if it looks good, I'm going to pick it up. Because, you know, Lionel, you got to make sure it actually looks good before you pay for it. And that is the cell tower disguised as a tree. I find these hilarious in real life. And I think it's genius that Lionel got the idea to do it. So if that turns out good, I'll actually pay and buy that. So we'll see how that turns out. So I guess this was definitely a quicker, rantier style video, but I don't think that this catalog pamphlet announcement release, whatever you want to call it, really deserves that much attention. Once again, it's going to be overpriced trains. Lionel, you know, I'll believe it when I see it, when they fix their quality assurance issues, their paint issues, their warranty repair issues. The list goes on and on. I can sit here and keep yapping into the camera, talking about all of said problems, and nothing is going to be changed. So until Lionel fixes those things, I won't be a customer. But you know what? On Friday, Sunset Models, that's Third Rail and Golden Gate Depot, is announcing their 50th anniversary catalog with almost a dozen all-new models that have never been seen before in fully detailed brass. And they just hinted at their first announcement, which is all brass SD70 Aces, every paint scheme you can think of. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. Well, that about wraps it up for today's video. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to leave that thumbs up, or some of you guys that thumbs down because I'm anti-Lionel, but whatever. I'll just cry myself to sleep at night. Not. But yeah, for now, take care, stay safe. Be on the lookout soon for a layout update video. Layout's messy because I've been doing work on it. And then we've got a huge announcement coming end of July, early August, and I think you guys will be really excited for that. So make sure you're tuned into the channel here in the dog days of summer. But for now, take care, stay safe, and happy yapping about the Lionel catalog.